But anyways, I decided that that wasn't it, and because of that, I had spoken to a lot of the real estate people, and one of them came and said, you know what? Why don't we start building luxury townhouses in Fort Lauderdale? As you know, it's a more easier. I mean, smaller investment and easier to grasp around. So they introduced me to somebody that my family had known for a number of years. He's a developer. He was a developer here, and I joined forces with him. And I created a company called Stanton Pender Development Group.
Welcome everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to the Breaking Resistance podcast. So we're here today, episode 2, which I'm excited about, John. I don't know about
season two. Of season 2.
Yeah, it's season 2. Yeah, it's season 2. But I mean, episode 2 with a very special guest. He's a good friend of ours, but even better, I mean, he's an awesome real estate entrepreneur and operator. So I don't always like to steal the thunder. I'm always really bad with introductions for some reason. So I rather always let them just kind of give themselves a 30,000 foot view for the audience. But before we dive in, how's everything going with you, John? How's everything good? Everything good with you?
Everything is great, man. We're just trying to stay above the waves like everybody else in the industry is. But
oh my gosh.
But yeah, I'm not gonna steal away from our guest thunder. Saul Levy is joining us today, and he is just a force to be reckoned with, and he is just the most pleasant, the most approachable, and the most friendly person I know in this industry. And he's the reason why I love interacting with people in the industry, and why I love having friends, good friends like him around. So Saul, I appreciate you joining us on this episode. Saul Levy here with PR Residential. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for that very kind introduction, John and Francisco. I also appreciate the friendship with you guys.
No, absolutely. It's a pleasure and again, it's an honor to have you on our show. So just for the listeners, that way they're able to kind of get a full background on you before we start diving into all the good stuff and the meat of this interview. If you can just kind of give everybody a 30,000 foot view on yourself and your background, and specifically with PIA.
Yeah, PIA, just overview on what you guys do with PIA and yourself as well.
Yeah. So I'm a managing partner at PIA, which stands for Property Investment Advisors. Started as Property Investment Advisors. It's called PIA Residential these days, and we're a private equity group, specializing a real estate private equity group, specializing in the acquisition of institutional multifamily through the Southeast U.S. We're founded, or this iteration of the company was founded in 2009. Where we started buying single family homes at that point. We ended up buying 400 single family homes and another 400 small multifamily apartment buildings, all in South Florida, and built a company of around 70 people where we had property management, construction, maintenance, and a back office. And in coming 2018, we sold that portfolio, or a big chunk of that portfolio, to Cerberus Capital in New York. At the time, we decided to Cerberus, we sold the single family. So at the time, we decided to dispose of the rest of the portfolio and migrate into institutional multifamily. So that's what we've been doing since 2019. We're back at 1,000 units, and we'd like to expand to 10,000 units over the next 10 years. That is our goal. So we're 3 partners. Me, I run acquisitions. My brother Jimmy runs operations, and cousin Danny Catan who runs capital markets. That's the way we're structured.
Hundred
I
percent.
like it. I like it. Yeah. Now that we got the hard stuff out of the way, let's dive into some of the juicy good stuff. So Saul, I know you and I both share common background. We're both immigrants, and we both came into this country and made something out of what we have here. And you made your life is have very similar winding roads as I did. How did you end up where you were? How did what was it like growing up? Where did you grow up? And how did you end up where you are right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that the base or the crux of our upbringing, I think you and I can share that we were sort of always entrepreneurs, always had this drive to succeed, always had this in our nature. What is the fact that if you can't find a solution this way, you turn the other way, you turn and again and again and again until you manage to find a solution and get ahead from solve the problem. So that is part of my upbringing. That has been a part of my brother's upbringing. We're three brothers.
Where'd you guys grow up?
So yeah, we grew up in Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia, South America. We grew up in Bogota. We actually were originally born in Cali, Colombia, and then we moved to Bogota when I was around 7 years old. So I grew up there all the way through high school, and then I went to Boston University to do college. After Boston University, I returned to Colombia and started working there, mostly in the ocean shipping business for a few years. Then they sent me to the Norwegian Shipping Academy for a master's in shipping administration. By the way, in Boston, after Boston, I went to London School of Economics and did a diploma there 1 year. Then came back and
just a little segue into one of the best economics universities in the world. Yeah. Everybody does that.
I'm trying.
Everybody forgets about that. Oh yeah, by the way, I attended one of the best universities in the world. Yeah.
Just throw it out there.
And I went back to Colombia, and while there, I worked with one of the companies that we used to service. I went back to Colombia and then went back to New York. Spent there 5 years, worked in the shipping business there. Worked the company that I was employed by had a client that was doing oil trading, trading of oil products. They hired me out, and then I started managing South America for them, their Latin American market. In one of my trips, I went back to Colombia, and I met my wife and decided to go back to Colombia and get married. At that point, I got an offer from my father-in-law, who had an important lace business, and asked me to go work with them. I went and I worked with them for 80 years, and then things in Colombia were not working out in terms of security. We had a lot of concerns with what was happening, and I decided that it was time for me to move out of Colombia. Finding ways in which you can improve your life.
Yeah.
I think that it was clear from the onset that money is not the end of all, the goal of all. The end goal is having quality of life and being able to offer that to your kids. So at that point, I decided to go to Venezuela, where my brother had a furniture company, a furniture store business, and I ended up working with him for 2 years. This was 1998. In 2000, Chavez gets elected, and we decide this is not where we want to be, and at that point we decided to come to the States.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
again,
Yeah. You definitely have the experience in different sectors. I can say that, but I love the fact that your entrepreneurial spirit and you to be able to just be agile and flexible for you to just go from place to place. Because I mean, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. I mean, I'm Mexican, but if I had to be going back and forth from Mexico and to stay there for years and then come back, it's kind of hard at times for you to be flexible like that. But again, you always have to find solutions and ways that it's gonna better the quality of your life. But so I like how you said that.
I'm also going to add, I'm sorry to jump in, I'm also going to add the fact that you are doing business in countries that I assume it was, challenging to do business in. Places like Colombia and Venezuela are, they're not exactly the easiest countries for business friendliness.
well, since we were born in Colombia and we're Latin, we understand the mechanics there, the nature of doing business there. So it wasn't that difficult doing business in those countries. I guess that you can take a lot of those learnings and try to apply them here to what
Sure.
you do. But one thing is I guess at the core of, I would say, you and I, John, and Francisco, is reinventing ourselves.
Yeah.
Having the ability to reinvent yourself regardless of what situation you're put in. So,
Sure.
and it's not, I mean, easier said than done, but it's I think a key ingredient of somebody that with an entrepreneurial personality.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. How did you end up from shipping to furniture to the other ventures to doing business with your brother and cousin in real estate and even single family houses when you were doing single family houses?
Yeah, started looking for a business. I left a lot in Colombia, and decided that I have enough. I have an American unit. I have an American education. I have certain skills that I've developed, and that could be applied to different businesses. So I came here, and because we moved into a small apartment at the beginning, we didn't know where to be located yet, or what. We didn't have a house or anything, and we had a lot of stuff. We had to put some of my stuff in self storage. So I was going to self storage, and I looked around. I said, "This is such an interesting business, because it's really what self storage is really retail of space, and they're retailing this space for $3, $4, $5 a square foot. This is or whatever that was, $10 a square foot. It was an incredible ratio of what people were paying for space, and I started taking an interest in that. I started studying that and went to different conferences, built models, and this was the business that I was going to get into. I met somebody and decided that I was probably going to go in business with him, and that person didn't end up being what I expected. Nothing wrong, we just didn't have
look, it happens in life. I mean, sometimes you meet people and you're coming in and out of your life.
But total honorable person. But anyways, I decided that wasn't it, and because of that, I had spoken to a lot of the real estate people, and one of them came and said, "You know what? Why don't we start building luxury townhouses in Fort Lauderdale? As it's a more easier. I mean, smaller investment and easier to grasp around." So they introduced me to somebody that my family had known for a number of years. He's a developer. He was a developer here, and I joined forces with him. And I created a company called Stanton Pender Development Group. that was an interesting story because a lot of people say, where did you get Stanton Penner, such a classic name? And I said, I was talking to my accountant, and he said, do you have the name for your company? And I had a map of the U.S. in front of me that I had put in my wall, and I just extended my hand, and my finger was pointing to a city in Nebraska, Stanton, and he said, "Well, that should be very common." And then next to it, there was another city called Pender. So he said, "How about Stanton Pender?" And we ended up with that name. That's how companies are created these days. So I started with Stanton Pender Development Group, and we did a few townhouses in Fort Lauderdale, a few development ground up townhouses. So I did that all the way up to the crisis. And then that business was, after the crisis hit, that business was in no-go, was dead in the water. And parallel to that, my brother Jimmy had come in 2001, and he had started buying single-family homes. He ended up getting a franchise for We Buy Ugly Houses. It was this franchise had expanded through the Southeast, and he picked up the franchise for South-Dade, or Miami-Dade, and Broward. And he was doing that, and he was one of the proverbial flippers. He was buying, remodeling, and flipping, and all the way up to the crisis.
I'm sorry. Was this Jimmy or Danny?
This is Jimmy.
This is Jimmy.
Danny at the same time was working for Countrywide. So after the crisis, my business was dead. His business became buy, remodel, and lease. Danny was in Countrywide, and Jimmy started saying, "Okay, so what now?" Everybody was running for the fences. Nobody wanted to invest in real estate, let alone funds or anything. So he started saying, I have a lot of expertise in property acquisition, remodeling, and flipping. If this is going to become property remodeling and leasing, I think that we can cater to investors that want to have their own properties, not under the sort of the umbrella of a fund or anything. They have their own properties. We'll buy them with their money, we'll fix them with their money, and we'll lease them, and we'll get a fee for that. So we started with that model, which was very appealing to investors because in the end the houses were theirs and wasn't in the hands of somebody else. It caught the attention of a large family office from Colombia, and decided the founder of that family office decided that he wanted to invest in that strategy. At that point, he calls me up and says, "Listen, there's an opportunity here. You have a lot of construction experience. Why don't you join forces with us?" Danny had also been, talking to Jimmy about this strategy and so forth. And at that point, we joined forces, and we created PIA in 2009. Then that strategy was initially, in 2008 is when he got his first money. In 2009, this individual comes and says, "I like the strategy very much. I'd like to put significant monies towards this strategy, and I'd like to partner with you guys." And that's when we decided, PIA Residential started. At the time it was called PIA Group USA because we had to establish, that was early stage, this cycle where there was nobody doing single family homes, and we had to reinvent the wheel. Again, going back to our entrepreneurial spirit, we were pioneers in that industry. We had to, nobody was property managing. You would go to a property manager, they were managing multifamily, but they didn't know how to manage large numbers of single family homes, which we ended up creating our own company and in property management and so forth.
That makes sense. Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
appreciate
22
that. Definitely. What was that?
It's been 22 years. Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, and I love the fact that, I mean, there's always a way that I mean, I was intrigued by the fact that as soon as you got here, the first thing on your way to a self storage is like the one opportunity that you right away see. And it's like, and I love that about, like, especially coming from like an immigrant background, there's always an endless and an abundance of opportunities that we can really point out to and just say like, hey, you know what, I'm interested in something like this, and you make it into a business. And then I'm pretty sure, I mean, John has a similar story from even all the way up until the crisis, he had a closed shop, but it doesn't stop there. At the same time, it's like you look for, okay, what's next? And I think that also really comes from a mindset standpoint. I don't know if it's because we come from an immigrant background, but I feel there's always a bug in us where it's like, okay, well, how can I now move on to the next chapter? You know what I mean? It's not just, hey, well, I got my ass handed to me, well, screw it, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's no, well, hey, you know what, this happened, but I'm going to take everything that I learned from this and apply it to the next business model. And I love the fact that you guys kept it within the family. I'm just curious, you got into self-storage when you got in here, like that was something that kind of caught your attention. Why didn't, since Jimmy was also already in the industry in real estate, why didn't you guys do something early on?
At that point, sort of each one of us was trying to find its bearings. Sometimes it's
But did you guys do a self-storage deal at all?
No, I never did.
Never did anything in self-storage.
The deal fell through just about when we started discussing terms and funding and all of that. We had a site that we were going to develop and everything, and then when we started talking about our, how to approach this, I saw that there was a difference in mentalities and so forth. So at that point I decided not to go forward with that deal. I'm one of three brothers, and we're very close. I'm the oldest. Jimmy's the youngest, and then I have a brother in the middle who is also called Danny, and we're very close. And we always spoke about working together and doing stuff together. So that wasn't a question. The question was finding the right opportunity to work together, and it's kind of when if you're thrown in a river and you're given a log and the log is not big enough to hold two people, both of you are going to drown if you both hold on to that same log. So it's better if you have your small log, I have my small log. It'll probably support me, won't support both of us, but once we get to a bigger log, we'll talk about working together. So
I love that.
I love that. That's a good analogy. The log jumperoo between one or the other,
right.
And which one are we going to hold on to? I like that. I like that.
But we were always there for each other. We were always, it was struggling, trying to figure out how this world works. And
so does Danny work in the business also?
No, Danny doesn't work in the business.
Okay.
He is in Miami. He has been involved in the business in different capacities, but he doesn't work in the business. We're close.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, somebody had to keep their mind straight, I guess.
That is true. Because, and I gotta tell you that one of the things that we have a lot of fun too, which is important. We have a lot of fun.
You have to. I mean, you have to. We sink way too much into our day-to-day business, into our companies. We are spending most of our life in our businesses. So if you're not having fun there, it's just not worth it at all.
Yeah.
I just feel it's not even sustainable. I mean, if you're injecting so much energy into a business that isn't fun, it's not going to last. I mean, overall, yourself, it's just not going to be something that you can really sustain for a long term. Whether it's mentally, physically.
Don't get me wrong. It's not always fun. I mean, when I say it's fun, it's not necessarily that every day you'll come in and and you're having a blast. You know, some days Francisco and I put our head down and say, "My God, like this was a crushing week. You know, this was a crushing month or a day." But
I'll take this any day though. Any other business,
oh, yeah,
I'll take this.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely,
I'll take
absolutely.
It. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not fun and games every day. A lot of times, you get up and you have to lick your wounds and say, all right, fine. We didn't win the battle today, but let's try again tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's about getting up again the next morning, after the blow, and then keep plugging ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing I think, and you're going to be able to relate to this too, is as long as you do things right, as long as your intention is always honest and correct and right, time is on your side. You'll be able to stand up, pick up the pieces, and move on. The minute you start,
100%.
you have, the wrong intentions, or you're not honest, then the clock starts ticking and it gets to you. So we have time to try here and there and be honest. I mean, when we let go of all of our 70 people, and of which we only kept one, the CFO stayed with us, and then we retooled that team to a mostly institutional team with 30 years of experience in the institutional family business. The people that were let go left with tears in their eyes, saying, "Listen, guys, whenever you start this again, count on me, because we want to work with you guys." And that
must have been hard.
That was hard. That was hard for
That was
everybody.
pretty tough.
It was hard for us, and it was hard for them. But it told us that we did the right thing, and that's so very important. You always do the right thing. You'll have time on your side.
Well, it sounds like you did. If 70 people told you that they would love to join you on your next venture, that means you did something right by these people while they were with you.
They still call us, and they still come by, and they still say hi, and
that's great. Well, that's a testament to you and your partners and how good you guys ran a good business, which is great. I mean, all we have in this world is our reputation at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
everything else comes and goes, but your good name and reputation and legacy is really all we have.
Yeah, I'm reminded of that every day. I don't know if you can see, I have a picture of my two kids. I have a daughter too. She's going to complain that I don't have her in my but I'm reminded of that I have a legacy to leave for my kids. Hopefully they'll come into our business one day, but that's a legacy. That's what you have to offer and leave behind. So it's very important. Yeah.
Of course. It's a blessing to do that. Family run and owned businesses are fantastic. The other business I ran with my brother, that was great, and we have more family members that are involved in that business, and it's a great feeling. I mean, I'm doing the same. My son and I hope that someday you follow in the footstep and take over the business, but we do what we can, and we put the structure in place, and it's up to them to see if they pick up the pace or not.
Yeah.
Saul, what is the scariest thing you've ever done in your life?
Probably moving to the States. Because at the time I didn't have anything. I mean, thankfully I was well off, and I had enough to carry me through, but I didn't have a business. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had children. I had my wife, and I was afraid of. I mean, I never doubted that I was going to succeed, but I was afraid. A lot of people that came, because I wasn't the only one coming here. There were a lot of people coming to the States. they were all coming, or not they were all, but a lot of them were coming with businesses. So they left their business in Colombia or in Venezuela, whatever, and they were living off of that, and they had something to do. I was one of the ones that said, I don't care, I'm gonna move there, I'll figure it out, and I'll reinvent myself. Started figuring out. It took me a while, and that was it required a lot of self-confidence, trust from your wife, your kids. But it was a very tough time. I'm not saying that this was easy, everything peachy. So it sort of reinforced the fact that, and I'm a big believer in this, that you can have any money in the world that you want, or you think that's enough. But if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have a job, if you're not working, at least to me, you're going to be very miserable. Because money in an account, yeah, how much traveling are you going to do? How much, you have whatever, the house, the car, the boat, whatever. But what is your purpose? What are you creating? At least me, I need to be creating something. I need to have a purpose. And one of the things that I've learned is that work gives you dignity more than money. That's the most important thing. It gives you dignity. It makes you purposeful. Makes you somebody that's contributing to society. That you're building something, and that is at least my engine. So not having that was scary back in 2000.
Yeah, I would agree with. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think more so for yourself than anything. I think work and the opportunity to have a purpose for ourselves is important for our own self psyche, not just to. I mean, yes, contribution to society is great also, but at the end of the day, we have to feel productive for ourselves, and we have to feel make sure that we are producing something and contributing back to either our family or society or our community or whatever it might be. And you're right, it's not about the money, because there are plenty of ways to feel fulfilled and feel that contribution to something else bigger than yourself, that doesn't involve money necessarily. I mean, there are plenty of people who are doing amazing, fantastic works in nonprofits or whatever it might be, as long as there's that drive and purpose behind it to deliver on something that you're proud of or you want to be part of your life or that drives you every day. I can't imagine waking up every day without a purpose.
Yeah.
That's never been in my DNA.
Yeah. It's very important.
Yeah, and I agree with that, because I mean, overall, I mean, it's why we're here. You know what I mean? We're here because we all have a purpose, but it's just really having the mindset for you to go after it and try to find it. I love the fact that you'll find a way to get there. You'll find a way to figure it out and reinvent yourself. And I think that's very strong, just even having that trait for you to go into the unknown. I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest challenge for a lot of us is going into the unknown. Especially when you're going from one environment. I mean, it's even for John, I'm sure it's a huge culture shock. You know what I mean? Going from one place to another, you go from the familiar to the unfamiliar. And I think that's the biggest challenge that a lot of us, like, even for me, when I had to leave, I mean, I can only imagine you have a family, you're going from one country to another. I have my family, I'm leaving from one secure job to jumping into full business and doing what I'm doing today with John. And I think that's the scariest thing is the fact that, yes, you feel like, man, I'm so used to always contributing, even on a monetary value to my family to provide, but having that taken away from you and starting from scratch, it's a big challenge.
I was going to give you kudos for that as well, Francisco. I mean, you had to make a jump into something that, we do jumps into unknowns all the time. I mean, you had to jump into even Peak 15. I mean, when we first launched, we didn't know. We both didn't know. I mean, when I told you to join me at Peak 15, I didn't have a fancy package for you until you're like, let's go. And,
it's just like, hey, here's a plane. We're gonna build a plane, and I'm fine with that. And you know what? It takes a lot of guts. Takes a lot of what's that? What they say? A lot of chutzpah. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
A lot of chutzpah. Absolutely, yeah.
For you to
A lot
do
of
something
chutzpah.
like that, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, look, but when it's something that you're like, you know what, I know I have a purpose and this is something that I want to do, even when fear tries to get in the way of it, you just got to go for it. If the gut feeling is there and you're like, you know what, I'll find out one way or another, that's the key question. Is like, I'll figure it out. I'll let everything else will fall into place. And I mean,
Yeah.
we've been blessed, but it's an amazing story for you, the fact that you would have to leave the familiar to the unfamiliar, especially with the family, and to do this as much as what you have done so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Kudos to you.
It takes a lot of self-confidence on yourself.
Yep.
It also takes a lot of the word in English, or the leap of faith. You know,
Yeah.
that concept.
It is.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
leap of faith
Absolutely.
that things are gonna eventually fall into place. Things are meant to be this way for some reason. If you keep working and you keep trying, and again, if not,
You gotta
You gotta navigate through the hurdles.
you'll get there.
we
So
we take leaps of faith every day, Saul. I mean, you know, we take leaps of faith on people. We
Yeah.
take leaps of faith on deals. I mean, yeah, we do our homework and we underwrite and we make sure that the numbers are good. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantees. I mean,
No.
there are no guarantees in anything.
No.
There are no guarantees in any deal we get into. There are no guarantees. There are no guarantees that we'll wake up tomorrow and got hit by a bus in the morning. So, you know, there's life doesn't offer guarantees. It doesn't work that way. You know, but that's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is that you know it could end at any minute. That's what makes us human.
yeah,
You know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's just the level of risk that everyone is willing to take. It's just risk tolerance. But again, without risk, there's no reward. You know what I mean? You'll never know. You'll always live with the what if versus if you just took the risk, at least you'll know. You know what I mean? But everything is a risk.
Switching gears a bit, Saul. You know, you guys are now obviously on your way into multifamily success. You have a portfolio of about 1,000 units and more, and building up to get to 10,000. What's going on right now in the market for you? What are you guys looking at? I hear some exciting things coming for you guys. You're putting something about a fund or something you're putting together.
yeah. Preparing to launch a $100 million fund in July. And it's exciting because we see that the market is pivoting into more of a buyer's market than it used to be. Maybe
Sure.
it's not going to get to a full buyer's market, but there's going to be opportunities there, and you're going to have to be well capitalized. So we're at a point where we've proven time and time again that we perform for our investors. And now, and as of late, a lot of our investors were either limited or not able to invest in some of our deals because we were oversubscribed. So this fund will give us the ability to bring in and sort of cater to the interest that investors have shown in our properties. So we're excited about that. It'll give us the opportunity to move faster. It'll give us the opportunity to take advantage of a market in flux, and maybe there's opportunities where you need to capitalize with without financing or else, because there's going to be limited financing. We're excited because we're going to open up to more investors that are looking for what we call a defensive position in real estate. And you and I, John, have discussed various deals. We're very defensive. We're looking for cash flow, the DSCR, and mostly wealth preservation is what the conversations or what we intend to deliver to our investors.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's great.
Fantastic.
so it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting to launch even something similar, but we're doing more of a co-GP fund. But I mean, we see the same thing. I think we're both, as far as like our vision is aligned of what we're seeing in the market. I know we both have a pulse on the market of what's going on and where the opportunity lies in the future. So really excited for you guys on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
how can people get in touch with you in regards to that or any other projects that you have going on?
Uh,
Yeah, how do people find you, Saul?
First thought is either our website, piaresidential.com. There's contact information there with my email. Um, there's LinkedIn. I'm in LinkedIn.
Yep.
Okay.
Through you guys.
Yeah, and we'll
You
have
know
all your
more people
contact
than I do,
information.
so
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and we'll have your contact information added
Yeah.
to our show notes at the end,
Yeah.
so as well, so people can find you if they want to.
right.
Or they can find you at the
yeah.
beach of Miami with a drink, and you can just be relaxing, right? They'll probably find you on
They
the
won't
beaches of
find
I
me
Miami.
don't.
there.
Yeah, I don't. They're not gonna find Saul on the
They
beach
don't
of
find
Miami
me at the
relaxing.
beach.
I don't. They might find Danny there. I don't think they'll find Saul.
Danny, they might find.
Danny will be on the boat,
Right.
but I don't know about Saul.
Yeah. I'm more. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
More of an office dweller here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Well, you gotta get out and smell the roses every now and then
Yeah.
too, Saul. So
Yeah.
otherwise life's too short and too dull for you not to have fun also.
Yeah.
So yeah, we gotta send you some more swag for your daughter to model Peak 15 for us. The newer cups.
She was looking great. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anytime. She loves that. She loves that.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
That's
it.
awesome.
Well, Saul, it's been a pleasure, my man. It's been a pleasure as always talking to you, and thank you so much for getting on the show with us, as always.
Thank you, both of you, John and Francisco. And listen, I also enjoy seeing you succeed. I know that you had to reinvent yourself, and you're well in the path of a great enterprise that I see all the time. So keep up the good work, and we'll keep plugging. We'll do this
Absolutely.
maybe in 5 years and see
That's
what we've done. And I'm sure that you guys are going to be successful too. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And
Means a lot.
that's the only way we know how to do it.
Yeah.
And we love having people and good friends like you in our community.
here.
Thank you again.
Pleasure.